dead, then well, I'm wide awake. Won't take your brand, I'm not your slave. You serve your God, Lord of the flies. I pity you and you me mine. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes. Your bloody mouth unsatisfied. God sees the trap you set for me. He'll not be mocked, I will be free. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender, never surrender. Your fear will not make me behave. I won't march in your masked parade. Your hollow threats won't shut me up. I won't bow down, enough's enough. You say you'll give us what we need, as if you own the air we breathe. Stand up 100 million strong. Thought we'd lie down, well you thought wrong. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender, never surrender. I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus with me every step. Just keep going, keep on going. Walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus closer than my breath. Just keep going, keep on going. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down. We'll never give in, never give up, never back down. We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender. I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus with me every step. Just keep going, keep on going. Walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus closer than my breath. Just keep going, keep on going.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you all for joining me tonight. It is Thursday. I had to remember the day of the week. Never fails. Thursday, April 7th, 2022. My name is Jen, and I'm blurry for some reason on my end. I don't know if I am for you guys. I have a bunch of things to talk to you guys about tonight. We are going to talk about the Durham Report. A couple things came out about that. That is the Michael Sussman trial. We're going to talk about the changes in the judges for the Trump case. He brought a suit against Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee and 46 other people or organizations. And they can't decide what judge is going to preside over that. I think they've gone through 4 already. We're going to talk about... This one should be fun. We're going to talk about redefining the word grooming. I came across an article last night, and the same exact publication came out with an additional follow-up article today. It's just nuts. The world is gone mad. People are losing their minds. And there's gaslighting and justification, and it's just foreshadowing, I believe, just a bunch of nonsense. We're going to talk about that. I also came across a couple of pretty funny articles from another publication talking about what might happen if we have a new surge in COVID cases, They're calling it the so what wave and basically claiming that nobody cares about COVID anymore. So it really doesn't matter. We're setting ourselves up for disaster. It's pretty interesting to see what they have to say about that. I believe I am alone this evening. So funny thing happened. I was messaging with Christian earlier, and then I haven't heard back from him. I'm assuming something just came up, or he fell asleep and lost track of time. That is one of those two things. Is very possible. It's also very possible that he will just pop in unannounced at any time, which he's known to do. So we'll hold out and see if that happens. I'm also waiting to hear back from Jeremy and see what time he is planning on giving us an update tonight. Just checking my phone to see if he messaged. I don't know. A lot of stuff going on today, I guess. So we'll just get into it. As you guys come in, please let me know where in the world you are watching from. After you do that, if you wouldn't mind, whatever platform you're watching on, please like, share, subscribe, follow, whatever the options are on your platform. We are live on my Facebook. We are live on Knowledge is Power YouTube and the Knowledge is Power Twitch. We're also live on DLive. And let's see where everybody is from tonight. Tammy's been first for quite some time now. She's got a streak going. She's in Illinois. Steve Colleen says, hello, Patriot family. Beautiful day today in the Pacific Northwest. Julie King says, hey, from Washington State. Lee, what's up, everyone from the middle of Michigan. Suzanne, that song is Never Surrender. The artist is Billy Falcon. You can find it anywhere. We play it every night. Most nights we play it twice. To end the show and to start the show. Tabby says hello from Minnesota. Twyla says hi from Beaver Lodge. Laura says hello from Camarillo. Sunny, hot as heck with nasty Santa Ana winds in Southern California. Nanette, Washington State. Cindy in Kansas. Snapper says hi, Alberta. Leonard is in Cortland, New York. Terry's in Minnesota. Thank you so much, Leonard. Let's see. Tulip, greetings from sunny Vegas. My dad lives in Vegas. He absolutely loves it. Nate's in Utah. Let's see. Tara is in Southern Ohio. Kristen, British Columbia girl, in Toronto. Debbie's in Burlington, Ontario, Canada. Randy is in Northern Ontario, Kirkland Lake. Adam's in Vancouver Island. Awesome. I love seeing all the Canadians. I think I had one Canadian friend before I met Jeremy, and then my world just absolutely exploded. And it's amazing. So I would love nothing more than to get a passport or another means of travel to get myself to Canada, because I have quite a few friends now in Canada that I just need to meet. I need to spend some time with you all and sit around a campfire and just hang out, maybe go to a hockey game. And that would be phenomenal. So, the Michael Sussman trial, otherwise known or even maybe better known as the Durham Report. There was a bunch of articles that came out. Time travel, yeah. So this article is from, I went down a little, I start reading an article and then I click a link within the article and it brings me to another one. You know how it happens, and all of a sudden it's been 3 hours and you forgot where you even started. That's what happened to me today with all the Durham Report stuff. So I'm going to see if I can find where I started. Let's see, here it is. It was actually this one. This is a Substack website by TechnoFog, and he's on Twitter. He actually had made a post about the Durham Report, and I will post all the links to all of these articles on my website. I'm also starting to post everything in my Telegram channel for easier sharing. If you are not yet a member on my Telegram channel, just search Check the Motive. Same thing as, nope, that way, the logo in that corner. You can find us on Telegram, and I started posting all the stories that we do, all the links, all the videos, and everything in there, so that they're easy to find and easy to share, easy to download. But Technofog, this article says John Durham, Michael Sussman, and the broader Clinton conspiracy. There was a flurry of filings in the Michael Sussman case late yesterday. This was posted on April 5th, so that those filings would have been Monday night. Here's the latest. On September 19th, 2016, DNC Clinton campaign lawyer Michael Sussman met with FBI General Counsel James Baker, where Baker was provided with data and white paper purporting to show covert communications since proven to be bogus between Russian Alpha Bank and the Trump Organization. So when we went through one of the documents from this trial, we talked about the white paper and what it was, and it was pretty suspicious, pretty suspect what that white paper was all about. Special counsel John Durham has just provided evidence that the night before, on September 18th, 2016, Sussman sent Baker this text. Jim, it's Michael Sussman. I have something time-sensitive and sensitive I need to discuss. Do you have availability for a short meeting tomorrow? I'm coming on my own, not on behalf of a client or company. Want to help the Bureau. Thanks. Emphasis added. So he made that part bold and italicized on purpose, because throughout the entirety of this discovery process within the trial, Michael Sussman has been saying, listen, I went to the FBI on behalf of myself. I had a tip. I was trying to be a good citizen. I just wanted to make them informed of what was happening and what was going on. You know, I didn't go on behalf of any client, despite the fact, the many facts actually, that not only was Sussman representing Hillary Clinton and the Clinton campaign when he went to the FBI, but he was also billing the Clinton campaign and Hillary Clinton for while he was on this fact-finding mission to find out information about Trump. So this text here proves that he lied to FBI General Counsel James Baker, saying I'm not representing any client, when in fact he was billing the Clinton campaign through the duration. Another article that I found as I was digging into all of this is from Blabberbuzz. Evidence Durham Report. Whoops, I can't see that. There we go. Durham reports on info that is, why are you doing that to me? Awful for the Clintons. John Durham issued a smoking gun in the case against Michael Sussman on Monday night. He published records showing the Democratic cybersecurity lawyer texted the FBI General Counsel that he was not working on behalf of any client, when in fact he was working for the Clinton campaign. I will post this article in its entirety as well on my website. It's just, they're pretty repetitive. Both the articles are pretty repetitive. The one that I found most intriguing and interesting, Daisy, my dog is growling at people outside living their lives. The New York Post jumped on the bandwagon and is also talking about this. And I thought that that was awesome, because I consider the New York Post kind of a mainstream corporate conglomerate, right up there with CBS and CNN and ABC, you know, the ones that don't tell the truth all the time. So they're actually talking about this as well. One section from their article says allegations about the Trump Organization and Alpha Bank server ties also allegedly were shared by Steele with State Department officials, while Fusion GPS passed them on to at least one Department of Justice official. After these introductions were made, Durham alleges Sussman and Fusion GPS employees shopped the Alpha Bank allegations to the mainstream media. The claims about the server traffic between Trump Tower and Alpha Bank were the subject of several contemporary reports ahead of Election Day 2016. The most notable story, by Franklin Foer, was published by Slate that October and bore the headline, "Was a Trump server communicating with Russia?" Finally, the Alpha Bank claims were allegedly compiled by Jaffe and Sussman into a white paper that Sussman turned over to Baker when the two met. According to the indictment of Sussman, the lawyer billed the Clinton campaign for the time spent drafting the document. On the same day, the Slate story about the Trump Organization and Alpha Bank came out. The New York Times reported that the FBI had looked into Sussman's allegations and concluded that there could be an innocuous explanation like a marketing email or spam for the computer contacts. This article, again, is pretty expansive in the details. They wrap everything up pretty nicely. They catch you up to speed with everything that's kind of gone on throughout the Sussman trial to date, and then encapsulate what just happened from the Monday filing. So, again, I will post this link and all three articles. I wanted to go through all three articles tonight, but they're lengthy. It would have taken up too much time. So I thought it would be best if I just shared those on the website. Now, something I talked about last night, which we'll talk about now, we ran out of time last night, is the change in judges in the Trump case. So we know that Trump at this point has filed a lawsuit against 48 names total, Hillary Clinton being one of them, the Democratic National Committee, Michael Sussman is one of them, Jaffe is as well, Fusion, they're all in there. We have the FBI former director James Comey, a few other former FBI agents are all in there. They're all named. What I found really interesting, so we went over this recusal, the first recusal, and I'm just scrolling to find it now. But the first judge that was assigned to the case, Trump came out and said, no, this isn't fair. We're not going to do this because this judge was appointed by Bill Clinton. Obviously, there is a conflict of interest here. I'm going after Hillary Clinton, so any judge that was named by her husband is probably going to have some sort of a prejudice. I'm just looking for that. Let's see, where are you? Here it is. Document number 11, order of recusal. So it was assigned, the case was assigned to Magistrate Judge Shanique M. Maynard. She recused herself, and it was reassigned to Magistrate Judge Ryan M. McCabe. Which was kind of weird because you have somebody with the last name McCabe who's also listed in the suit as a defendant, but, you know, could be no relation. We don't know. We're not sure. That happened on March 25th. And so then we have another judge, Donald Middlebrooks, who is looking over documents, receiving documents, making decisions, obviously. We have another, scrolling for the second recusal here. Here we go. This was from yesterday, document number 29, another order of recusal. Magistrate Judge Ryan M. McCabe recused. Case reassigned to Magistrate Judge Bruce E. Reinhart. So now, as far as everything is concerned with this case goes, Magistrate Judge Bruce E. Reinhart is in charge of making all of the decisions related to this case. I would love, so you guys know we have that board on my website where we have all these documents up. Any new documents are going to go up there. There was one, just this one that's new that we haven't gone over yet that came out, the order of recusal. It's just a one-sheet page saying, yes, I agree, I sign off. And I will put this on the board. I would love to also do like a quick profile on everybody that's involved in the case with the judge, the prosecutors, the defense, legal teams, and then obviously all of the names of everybody that has been included. But I'm hesitant to do that for this judge because they've been changing so quickly that I don't want to put something together just to have to take it down and do it all over for another judge. So I'm going to hold off on that for a little bit, see if anything changes. Somebody made a comment last night saying, you know, I really don't think that this will ever actually come to trial. I think that a lot of this is just for the discovery phase. Trump wants everything to come out in public so that the world will know what actually happened. I mean, look what's happening already. You already have people like the New York Post that are talking about this and not talking about it in a way saying, oh, it's ridiculous, it's QAnon, it's a conspiracy, don't listen about it, you know, it doesn't mean anything, nothing. No, they're coming out and saying, this could be bad. This might spell trouble for the Clintons. Look at all this information. Look at this text message. Look at what we have here. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that Trump's going to be successful? Do you think the information's going to come out publicly? Do you think the world's finally going to know the truth? I mean, I know a lot of us know the truth. A lot of us are well aware that we have been lied to. The whole Russiagate was a hoax. I don't know if it's going to, actually mean anything. Look at, I found this, let's see if I can make this bigger. I found this as well. New York Post, Clinton cabal exposed. Durham lifts lid on Hillary's joint venture to frame Trump. Not something I had ever thought I'd see on the New York Post. You know, the same publication company that came out and said, oh no, Hunter on this laptop, that's not real, that's not true. Tabby, I agree that he has more info than what is out there. I guess right now it's a question of, does it come out publicly, A, and B, do people believe it? Truth is dripping out in the net. It will take time. It's definitely taken some time already, but it's continuing to take time. But I guess all we can do at this point is be patient and, you know, play our part, share the information that we come across, share things like this show, share articles like this one, and the 3 others that we talked about so far tonight already, and just hope that the, you know, truth prevails. All right, so this one, I was really hoping to have somebody else go back and forth with about this and ask them what they thought and see if maybe I wasn't, you know, I don't know, exaggerating a little bit. But we all know, I'm going to take this down for just a second. We're all aware of that bill that came out in Florida, and people immediately started attacking it. They started calling it the anti-gay bill. But when you actually started reading it and you actually started going through it and figuring out what exactly they were saying and what it was they were actually trying to accomplish, you realized that they were trying to deter teachers from talking to children aged 4 through 8, you know, kindergartners, first graders, second, third. They were trying to deter them from talking about sex and gender identity. You know, that is something that should be discussed between child and parent, if it ever even comes up. I mean, my son is 13, and I never at any point throughout his life has he ever questioned his gender or his sexuality at any point. I would like to believe if he had, he would feel comfortable enough to come to me and talk to me about it, but it's just never come up. You know, it's never been something that he questioned. So regardless of that, Florida came out with this bill, and everybody jumped on top of DeSantis saying, you know, calling it the Don't Say Gay bill, and you're homophobic, and you're transphobic, and all of this. It was nonsense. So, almost in retaliation to that, I came across this article, like I said, last night. This is from The Week. I'll make it a little bit bigger. And the title is, Why Are Republicans So Concerned About Grooming? Well, I gotta tell you, that right there just pissed me off, because you guys know that most of you know that I started doing this whole thing, shows and going live and diving into things, researching things, because of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. And the evidence of grooming was overwhelming. It is not, the term grooming applies to conditioning someone in a way to sexually abuse them. and almost prepare them for that abuse. So the fact that somebody is questioning why anyone would be concerned with grooming is asinine to me and absolutely ridiculous. Everyone should be concerned about grooming. It is real. It happens. I was a victim of grooming, and I've said this before on other broadcasts, especially when we're talking about the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. I would imagine that a large majority of people have actually been victims of grooming if they look back in their lives and they look to see if there was ever a time that somebody was treating them a certain way or manipulating them in a certain way. For that person's benefit, whether it was sexually or financially. I mean, it doesn't always have to be grooming for sexual abuse. You can be grooming a person for any number of reasons to benefit yourself. So this article, right off the bat, just got me going. We'll read it together here. So it says, suddenly the American right is fairly exploding with accusations of sexual grooming against its political opponents. Christina Pushaw, the spokesperson for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, used the term last month to defend the so-called Don't Say Gay bill. I mean, again, they're using that term when that's not what it's called. It doesn't even have the word gay in the bill. They're not saying don't say gay. They're saying don't talk about sex with my kindergartner, period. It's inappropriate. And anybody that wants to do that, we should seriously question their state of mind. Why do you want to talk about sex with a kindergartner? If you are not their child, their parents, it is one thing for a child to be curious and come to their mother or their father and say, Mom, Dad, how are babies made? That's one thing. But for a teacher or a school administration, an organization to be pushing the fact that they want to talk to our children about sex and about their gender, it's gross. Why? If anything, you should be like, I don't want to talk to them about that. I don't want to have discussions about reproductive organs and how babies are made. I would much rather have parents have the birds and the bees talk with them. No, instead, these teachers, these organizations are upset about it and the fact that they can't do it. It's just so backwards. But this is just another example of them preparing us. They're justifying their actions. Now they want to redefine the term grooming. They want us to be comfortable with it. They want us to accept it. I found this. Somebody sent it to me. This is a tweet from Mike Rothschild. Ding ding, sound familiar, right? There is no child porn crisis in America. It's a moral panic exploited by cynical politicians and grifters to advance their own agendas. Don't be fooled by these people's fake compassion for children for 1 second. They don't care about anyone but themselves. This was in response to a tweet that had been put out by Josh Hawley, who said, I just went to the Senate floor to try to pass a bill toughening sentences on child pornographers, and the Democrats blocked it, again calling the child porn crisis a conspiracy theory. Sound familiar? And that tells you everything you need to know. Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much, yeah. The whole thing just gets me so upset, and I can't believe that this is even something that we're having to deal with. Like, it should just be common sense that you don't talk to children about sex because otherwise you're a pervert. That's disgusting. Why would you want to do that? But no, instead this side is coming out and saying, but we should have the right. Why don't we have the right? How do you explain that? I don't know. Oh, let's see. They did talk about QAnon in this article, I believe. But they're trying to, oh, here it is, trying to redefine it. So this was from, where's his name? Rod Dreher, who writes at the American Conservative. And he said, I think it is coming to have a somewhat broader meaning, an adult who wants to separate children from a normative sexual and gender identity to inspire confusion in them and to turn them against their parents and all the normative traditions and institutions in society, he wrote last week. It may not specifically be to groom them for sexual activity, but it is certainly to groom them to take on a sexual gender identity at odds with the norm. Listen, here's the thing. So they're all up in arms about wanting to talk to our children about sex and their gender. What if somebody was to lobby to incorporate religion in schools? Because why not? We should have the right? You have the right to talk to our kids about sex and about gender. So I want teachers to talk to our kids about God. Because teachers have the right to do that. Can't we do that? Can you imagine what would happen? Their little heads would explode. It would be like, a robot, smoke coming out of their ears. Does not compute, does not compute. They would not allow that. But it's okay for us to shove these disgusting narratives down our kids' throat. And then tell them to not tell their parents about it. Oh, here's where they mention QAnon. So, accusations of pedophilia and child rape are old hat in today's Republican Party. In 2020, Trump shared a tweet falsely accusing Biden of being a pedophile. Karl Rove first of all, the guy sniffs kids' heads. That's not like something that, that you heard through the grapevine or just came through the rumor mill. There are thousands and thousands of images proving the fact that Biden sniffs kids' heads. Disgusting. If that doesn't just define creep, I don't know what does. Karl Rove reportedly inspired a similar whispering campaign during an Alabama judicial campaign back in the 1990s. Sometimes the ugliness is overt, as during the QAnon conspiracy theorizing that led in part to the January 6th insurrection. Yeah. And sometimes it's a bit more subtle, as with Republicans accusing Supreme Court nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson of being lenient on child predators. Here's the thing. We're not accusing her. No one is accusing her of being lenient on child predators. She has come out and said she is lenient on child predators. There was a case that came across her desk, I guess, when she was a judge, and there was a person who had just graduated high school and was convicted of child pornography, possessing child pornography, and being included in, sexual assault and sexual abuse of a minor. And Ketanji Brown Jackson went below the minimum required sentence for this person and basically said that, he wasn't a predator, he was, it was an interaction with his peers. Yes, Laura just said, listen, the child was 8, and the person who was accused had just graduated high school. That is not, an 8-year-old is not your peer when you are graduating high school. You are, never mind the age difference between the mental and emotional capacity, the difference between age 8 and 12. What about 8 to 18? And Ketanji Brown Jackson said, no, I went with the minimum. She was questioned. This is during the Supreme Court hearing. They asked her all these questions. You can look up this video and watch it for yourself. She came right out and said, no, I went with the, she said something like, I don't recall that specific case, but if it's the one I'm thinking of, if I remember correctly, how they mince words and talk around things, no, we're not accused. An accusation would, to me, assumes like a false, nothing to back it up. We have evidence. She came out and said it. We have evidence to back up the fact that she is actually lenient on child predators. And they're just making us. Somebody just said it in the comments that they're just making us comfortable with this. I'm trying to scroll for it right now. but it's another form of grooming, right? It's another form of grooming. They're coming out with all these things saying, well, now we're going to call grooming this, and it's okay for Ketanji Brown Jackson to, maybe make some questionable decisions in her cases because she's going to be the first Black Supreme Court justice. So it's okay to be a little lenient on her, and it's okay for Disney to do this, and it's okay. Yeah, sure, exactly. Her sentencing is below the recommended norm. You would think I believe, I can firmly say that any reasonable adult would want higher than recommended normal sentencing for pedophiles. Specifically, every crime is bad, but that is one heinous group of crimes where if you wanted any sort of maximum sentencing and roughest punishment, it would be for anyone accused of pedophilia. But instead, they're getting the most lenient? How does that add up? How does that make sense? And then, so this article was posted on April 4th. This morning they came out, the week, same publication, came out with another article about grooming that says what conservatives really mean when they say groomer. Listen, what I really mean is the fact that grooming is grooming and disgusting and groomers are pedophiles. That's what I really mean. So let's see what this article says and see what words they're trying to put in my mouth. Liberals are perplexed by conservatives' increasing use of the word groomer to describe opponents of the Florida parental rights law and similar policies elsewhere. They are right that the term is hyperbolic at best and worst conflates a host of complex issues with pedophilia. But liberals and conflict-averse conservatives are wrong to confidently predict it will necessarily be perceived by persuadable people as QAnon craziness. So if you believe somebody is a groomer, you must be crazy. You must be a QAnon conspiracy theorist. You must be a January 6th insurrectionist. You must believe in a fraudulent election in the 2022 presidential election in the United States. You must be a domestic terrorist. They're just grouping us all into this one category. You can call me whatever you want to call me. I don't care. Groomers are disgusting, and I will forever hold that stance. It's not entirely clear that many such people even know what QAnon is, and it is just as risky for liberals to reduce all concerns about child pornography and age appropriateness of sex education to Pizzagate. Listen, I don't know what those things even have in common. If you click this little Pizzagate link here, it brings you to something that is wholly unrelated to Pizzagate. I was hoping to get some information there, but they didn't have any. But they're basically saying that us using the term grooming is, dangerous for people because people might not know what we're talking about, and we should cut that out right now. Crazy. The conservatives who favor the term see it as no worse than bad faith accusations of racism, which can be similarly career-ending and life-altering. And social conservatives know many of their opponents genuinely do regard their beliefs about human sexuality, still taught by many of the world's major religions, as bigotry morally indistinguishable from racial hatred. Public schools are supported by parents who hold both viewpoints and are not going to be able to easily accommodate this cultural divide. Again, here's the thing, okay? I'm going to say this. So, I don't know at what point public schools became where children are raised instead of where children are taught, but obviously this is where we are now. This has happened. I believe that the answer is not homeschooling. Although that is the answer for some, and that works for some, and that is wonderful. I believe the answer is more parental involvement. Okay? When I say that, obviously, some parents being more involved may mean homeschooling. and that's wonderful. But some parents, some people just aren't equipped to teach. They don't have the skills, they don't have the resources, or maybe they don't have the desire. So they can look up something like a co-op, or they can get together with other parents where, someone else is teaching their kids who they know, like, and trust. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But obviously there is a place, a need for public schools. And if you wanted to look at, people who are in the system, orphans, people that have been adopted and they haven't been adopted yet and they're waiting for the parents. Anybody who doesn't have a parent, basically, those children are going to need some sort of schooling, and that's where you get the public school structure. These kids, if they have any questions about sex or gender identity, or they want more direction, they want more information, then they should be going to their parent or their parental figure or their guardian, whomever it is that is charged with the responsibility of bringing up this child. Not for 6 hours a day, 5 days a week for, 9 months, once in their life, but for the duration of their life, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, however long we are blessed to be in our children's life. This whole thing just blows my mind. And really makes me speechless. I'm seeing messages here. Hold on one second. Christian is here, so I'm going to put him on, and he can apologize to all of us for being late.
I'm glad you put it that way. That's so nice of you.
I started the show, and I was like, to be honest, don't know what happened to Christian, so...
I don't either. I started doing a coffee testing with my family and lost track of time. Oh. But you started bringing up... I've been listening for the past 15 minutes, and you make some really interesting points about the homeschooling is an option for everyone. But it's something I don't think I normally consider. Because I know you when you say that, I hear how that comes at me, how that stings. In that, that's always my solution. I really should homeschool, but that isn't in the cards for everybody. And really, so thank you for helping my empathy in that situation, in that scenario. I think that what it makes me think is that the real solution is exposure. It's like they say, sunlight is the best disinfectant, right? What we need is a system that people can count on. I don't know what's coming down the stairs. Need to go back up and close the door. Yes, thank you. Do we have to be quiet? They said. I didn't turn on lights. There they go. But yeah, sunlight is the best disinfectant when it comes to politics. Daylight, we need transparency. And when you were bringing up this concept of being able to, have an institution that you can trust, that you can, the biggest thing the institutions are afraid of, and the reason they want to be the parental figure is because they want to be the ones defining those roles for everybody.
Exactly.
And I realize that there is a conflict. I mean, basically, we're arguing over who gets to raise our children. The state wants to raise your children.
Yeah.
They want to be the primary influence. They want to take those decisions away from you, and their only access to that is through the school system. So now they're a little upset that the parents are standing back up and saying we want that control back. Right.
It's honestly scary. So if you don't have school-age children who are in a school institution, not homeschool, but if you don't have a child who is attending some sort of a school institution, then I strongly urge you to reach out to someone that that you trust. And I would, if you are someone who has a school-age child in a school institution, I would recommend that you go to your school and that you ask for documentation of what it is that the teachers are teaching, topics of discussion, what materials are they using, and ask to see it all, ask to have copies provided. I have friends, parent friends that have done this and they're ignored. They're downright refused. No, we're not going to give you this information. We're not.
Carrie is saying down below here.
It, yeah.
Make it into the schools.
Not only can they not get, but not only can they not get in, because so I understand. When I was in school, my school doors didn't have locks, right? Or they did, but they were never used. You could just come and go in the building.
You see this?
Yes.
Stay low. The army crawl doesn't help, buddy. No, it doesn't.
But you know, when I was in school, high school, whatever, it didn't matter. You had people coming in to volunteer all the time. Community members coming in, doing like reading days and things like that.
We're in a different era, you and I.
Now, every door is locked. You have to sign in and sign out. You need to wear a visitor badge if they even allow you in to the school.
So I'm going to suggest this again. I'm going to see if I can find it on Amazon for people. I think this has got to be required reading. Okay?
So, so yes, Carrie, you're right. The parents can't even get into the schools, and that is insane. But what is worse is that they don't even know what's going on a day-to-day basis. I can somewhat understand with all the school shootings and the unfortunate circumstances that we have, experienced over the last decade, I'll say. But then I want to put on my conspiracy hat here now and go down that rabbit hole and say, well, if every single school shooting was actually like a false flag and the establishment's main goal was to lock parents out of schools, then maybe they said, let's show them all these school shootings, and there's fear and there's terror, and we want to make sure that our kids are safe at school, so we're going to start locking doors, we're going to start putting speakers on the outside of the building so that people can't come in. You know what I mean? When in the end, their goal was to just keep parents out so that they could do whatever it was that they wanted to do to our kids while they were in school. How terrifying is that to really put all that together? I'd never done that before. I just did that. You watched my magic happen live. Could you imagine if that's really what it is?
I'm sorry, guys. I just found something out that I didn't realize. I shouldn't be surprised, I guess. Hold on. I'm live at the moment. I was going to suggest this book. I've suggested it before in other shows. And the reason I keep suggesting this is because we had the privilege of actually interviewing this lady. And I just assumed that she would always be the same age forever, right? She passed away last February.
Oh.
So, what are we talking? Like a month ago? 2 months ago? 2 months ago.
This February?
This February.
Yeah, 2 months ago.
The book is called The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America. Looks like she revised it in 2003. I will add a link to the private chat. You can put it where you want. I know that Facebook hates when you give links, but I will show everybody what it looks like here. This is the book you need to get if you want to understand why this is happening. This isn't an unplanned thing, okay? Yeah, just literally was pulling it up. I'm like, I wonder if she's still around and kicking. So, no, unfortunately, she is not. She just recently passed away.
Well, I know everyone is so sorry for your loss, Christian.
Yeah, no one knows who that is. I'm sorry. But this book here outlines basically this concept of taking away all of the God-given authority that God has given you. Oh, it looks like used. It's $235. That's insane. Seriously? Amazon? That's got to be someone else just scalping it. That's unreal. If you would like a copy of that book, I'm sorry, $235 is insane. Message us. Actually, I'm going to find out what I can do. I have this in PDF. This really needs to be read. This is the kind of stuff that should be on a top sale list right now in these kinds of conversations, because as Jen was talking about earlier, these rights that basically the state wants to take away from you as the parent isn't accidental. This has been part of their plan for a very, very long time. When I say their plan, I'm talking about our ever-loving government, our overlord, right? So, yeah, if you cannot get your hands on a copy of this book, we will see what we can do legally to make sure that you all can get a copy of this, since I do have it available.
Audible is always a good option too. I can't imagine it would be that expensive on Audible.
It's in libraries. I need to take a look at that.
It's probably like a special edition copy or something. Maybe it was her last work.
It's not a high circulation. So if it wasn't, then there's only like 8 copies in the world. That last copy that someone's reselling,
right now, especially now that she's passed. So I don't know if you heard the comment I made when I had started talking about this. All these teachers are up in arms about wanting to talk to our kids about sex and about gender and everything. What if somebody proposed the idea to talk to our kids about religion and about God? What do you think the response would be there? Because right now they're saying, well, why can't we talk to kids about sex and about gender identity? We want to have these conversations. So can't we in the same token, in the same breath, say, well, we also want you to talk to our kids about religion and God?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Well, and that's, it's funny. Every time that gets brought up, everyone likes to quote church and state, like it's some kind of amendment to the Constitution, the separation of church and state. And so many people don't understand that the separation of church and state discussion or argument, which this is one of those topics that I know that you would love to get like the background on, really was to eliminate the state from having any say in what the church did. That's where the separation comes in. The true art or the true purpose of any expression, the separation of church and state, it isn't a law that disallows you to have any religious in anything that is state-run. It's a law that prevents the state from, it's not even a law, I'm sorry, it's an idea of preventing the state from having any say in what you do in your religious beliefs. That's the point. That's what that means. So anytime anyone says that statement and is arguing the contrary, they have no clue about history. It's just a little indicator of a red flag that this guy's, it's kind of like Carlin says, full of beep. I don't have my little censor, but I'm trying to clean up my language for you a little bit since
I appreciate that. You guys have disgusting mouths.
I know, I'm terrible. I'm bad. I raised so many kids. That's the problem. It's just parenting. It's bad for my language. No, it's not.
I'm going to go back to this article here because there's a couple sections I wanted to touch on. So, consequently, many conservatives are unsympathetic to complaints about the word groomer, which they perceive as clearly touching a nerve. Good, it should. There probably ought to... What's that?
It's meant to.
Yeah. There probably ought to be a better, more nuanced, less offensive word for people who make arguments about the instruction of children that are at least partly motivated by affirming adult identities, lifestyles, and beliefs. Instead, we have the bigot versus groomer brouhaha. The smarter play for liberals than allowing themselves to get baited into treating all worries about children and sex as QAnon is to simply wait for the inevitable overreach to occur. The flaw of the Florida law is that it is likely to empower the most sensitive parents to make complaints. Some teacher in Florida will be penalized or even fired for comments most voters will regard as innocuous. This will push the pendulum back in the liberals' direction, just as the woke school boards have done for conservatives. But that requires a level of patience and prudence seldom in evidence when the culture war is brewing. I'm speechless. Don't call us a groomer because it's offensive. Stop grooming our kids, and we won't call you groomers. There's a thought. Stop wanting to talk to our children about sex and adult identities when they are not adults. They are 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 years old. They're meant to learn the difference between a red crayon and a blue crayon, not a penis and a vagina. Like, how is this even how did we get here? I have to ask, how did we get here? How is this even like a topic of discussion? The world has gone crazy. The world has gone crazy.
It's funny. Here's a negative review of the book if you'd like me to read. I think this will give you some idea of the content here. This is a negative review. I read or started to read Deliberate Dumbing Down, right? And I'm looking for this because the Deliberate Dumbing Down of America. This is on Goodreads. I'm sorry, it might be a little over caffeinated. Because the Homeschooling Association emailed me a free PDF, which I'm looking for to see if I can find and get that to you guys. We hope that that's accurate information right there. Okay. I got to stop reading these books that homeschoolers love. It's like they're trying to talk me out of homeschooling. I decided to read this. Obviously, this person is a little liberal. This will be fun. I decided to read this one because I thought she couldn't really mean that the decline of America's education system was deliberate. She couldn't mean that. That would be crazy, right? Well, it is crazy. It's chock. The word is chuck. I'm sorry. But chock full of crazy. So I already know the intellect here. My first clue was that I probably wasn't going to finish this book was in the foreword that says American social engineers have systematically gone about destroying the intellect of millions of American children for the purpose of leading the American people into a socialist world government controlled by behavioral and social scientists. Boy, that doesn't seem like a bad review.
Listen, that is so on point and accurate that it's scary. I'm not kidding.
It turned her off.
I spent 6 months, I think, in the middle school system in town, and I had a 5th grader who couldn't read.
All right, I'm going to give you the PDF to distribute. If it was given out as a PDF, you can claim some amendments. So at least I didn't know as well. And then you can share that out. Uh-oh, the wife's coming in. Are we talking homeschooling?
I have a piece of hair in my mouth.
I have a turkey in the oven, I know.
Hi, Allie.
Hi, Allie.
Am I on screen?
You are. Probably. Oh, she's backing off.
No, we can't see her. We can just hear her.
What? The amp up in the living room. So far, that's it. Unless he identifies other things. Running a family, running a household of 7. It's a large endeavor. But yeah, that sentence shouldn't scare anyone off in this day and age. When was this review done? Oh, 2012, the era of Ron Paul.
I would have had no idea at that point, and I probably wouldn't have believed it. I mean, at that point, I didn't have my personal experience in school. I didn't have my mind awake.
Was really? If this could only be satirical, that sentence would be okay. But since it was intentional, it's just sad. And then in her preface, the author goes on about the social fascist agenda. Huh. Sounds like she almost woke up until she closed the book. And their intentions to create a global workforce. This is the best bad review of all time. It basically comes off as the ramblings of an incredibly paranoid person, 2012. And I'm not saying that Isabie is that person. It's just that this book doesn't rule that out. The worst part about this book, I love that I'm promoting the book by reading a bad review. About this book is that I didn't finish, and that actually contains more fiction than it does fact. Each chapter takes on a decade of history where she lists her evidence. It was almost completely uncited. There's a whole lot that this person said, blah, 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 without any proof that anyone said anything like that. Guys, this is awesome. I can't believe I didn't think about, telling you guys about it by reading bad reviews. But that was the first review is the bad one.
So so Laura just said it's prophetic because that's what is actually happening. Isn't that crazy?
So when I was working with the Next News Network, we actually had this woman in person for an interview in Illinois. I was in the same, and I didn't have any appreciation for it at the time. None.
I don't know many people that would have. This was back in 1999, it says. That 23 years ago? Oh my gosh. I mean, again, I'm brand new to this whole thing.
It will be on your website, I promise you.
This is just a 2-year journey for me, not even. For somebody to have this insight 23 years ago, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. It's amazing. All right, well, I have some other articles that I wanted to go over as I was going through what I wanted to do for tonight. I happened to come across this article from The Atlantic, which I actually really like a section of it, and I'll share that with you. I don't know what is going on with my spacing here. Let's see if I can fix that. So this article from The Atlantic said America is starting down its first so what wave. The United States could be in for a double whammy, a surge it cares to neither measure nor respond to. And they have this adorable little picture with the say what character and two little coronavirus molecules on each hand. This was published on the 5th. It says that the United States has been riding a COVID-19 coaster for the past 2+ years. New York and a flush of states in the Northeast have consistently been seated in the train's front car. And right now, in those parts of the country, coronavirus cases are once again going up. The rest of America may soon follow now that BA2, the more annoying, faster spreading sister of the original Omicron variant BA1, has overtaken its sibling to become the nation's dominant version of SARS-CoV-2. Technologically and immunologically speaking, Americans should be well prepared to duel a new iteration of SARS-CoV-2 with 2 years of vaccines, testing, treatment, masking, ventilation, and distancing know-how in hand. Look at this. Our immunity, because, now natural immunity is a thing and it's recognized, from BA1 is also relatively fresh, and the weather's rapidly warming. In theory, the nation could be poised to stem BA2's inbound tide and make this variant's cameo our least devastating to date. But theory at this point seems unlikely to translate into practice, as national concern for COVID withers. The country's capacity to attack the coronavirus is on a decided downswing. Community test sites are closing, and even the enthusiasm for at-home tests seems to be on a serious wane. Even though Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced a new deal on domestic pandemic funding, those patterns could stick. Testing and case reporting are now so abysmal that we're losing sight of essential transmission trends, says Jessica Malati Rivera, a research fellow at Boston Children's Hospital. It's so bad that I could never look at the data and make any informed choice. Testing is how individuals, communities, and experts stay on top of where the virus is and whom it's affecting. It's also one of the main bases of the CDC's new guidance on when to mask up again. Without it, the nation's ability to forecast whatever wave might come around next is bound to be clouded. I told you guys that this article made me a little excited, and this paragraph is exactly why. So they're saying, basically, that people, Americans as a whole in general, are starting to say, so what, to the coronavirus pandemic. That is some of the best news that I have heard in quite some time. It really is.
It's, I don't know what it's going to take for everyone to wake up. The truth of the matter is not everyone will, I guess, is you got to, even, in my spiritual worldview, biblical worldview. I don't want to, the problem is spiritual can mean both negative and or positive. But in a biblical worldview, the God of the Bible even makes some sort of accounting for the fact that not everybody would believe that salvation is available and free. You know what I mean? Like you could have the best news in the world and not everyone's going to wake up to that. So, I guess I shouldn't be shocked. But yeah, I hope that everyone reads, more and more people start to lean towards this. Oh my God, what are we thinking?
Well, I mean, that's exactly what this article is saying. They're saying that the enthusiasm for at-home tests are down. People aren't going to get tested. There's no more tracking. They can't. I mean, they're obviously foreshadowing the fact that we are going to have another wave. That's all coming. It's inevitable. Right? Exactly. But they're basically saying, like, why don't you care? This is so dangerous. It's coronavirus. You have to panic. Like, go back and get your tests.
I suggested that, and I don't know, I hope I'm right, but I think that once people get another taste of freedom again,
yep,
that they don't go back.
Right.
I expected that we would be quote unquote done with this, and then they try again, and everyone go, shut the hell up.
That's my hope, because I mean, look at how successful, and I'm going to use the term successful, the pandemic was for the powers that be.
Right.
If they still have any power whatsoever, it would be we would be wrong to not prepare ourselves for another situation that is similar. I don't know what that would look like. I don't know what it would be. I don't know how it would start or where or how. I don't have any of that information, obviously. This is just an educated, like, well, what is the next move? But because they got so much accomplished, so much went their way the last 2 years, it would be silly for them not to. So, as I was reading this article, I also saw another article that they had put together, the same group, The Atlantic, that says, seriously, why not get a fourth shot? The risks from overboosting are very small. This is by Rachel Gutman. It says, the FDA and CDC have cleared the way for Americans older than 50 to get a second booster shot, but they don't quite suggest that everyone in that age group should do so. Like masking and many other pandemic control measures, a fourth dose, or third for the J&Jers in the back, is now a matter of personal judgment. Oh, because the first two weren't. Now it's a matter of personal judgment. Now. Even as another wave of COVID cases seems poised to break, that leaves millions of Americans and their doctors to perform their own risk-benefit analysis. Again, like, so now it's okay for people to ask their doctors or get a medical or religious exemption where it wasn't before? Or perhaps it's just a risk analysis. This is the best. The upsides of a fourth shot are indeed uncertain. The best we can say right now is that its protective effects are probably modest and temporary, with greater benefits for older people. But a modest temporary boost is still better than nothing. So why not go ahead and get one, just in case? What, if any, risks?
Why not? What could be the problem?
What, if any, risks would that actually entail? Let's see. Death?
Yeah.
Any one of the thousands of adverse reactions that have now been listed?
Designed for and prior results and what they would do with the prior results. Any VAERS test. VARES. Any. Yeah, unreal.
I mean, you're not even... The fact that Pfizer came out with, 40,000 pages of documents? I don't even know what the number was total now, because we had another dump on April 1st. But tens of thousands of pages of documents, some of which solely focused on the adverse events, the adverse reactions that people had experienced from these vaccines, and death included. And this publication has the audacity to say, what risk is there?
Right.
It might not provide you much benefit, but what risk do you have? Death! Like, how are you omitting that?
That's just one of the risks, by the way. It's the most extreme. But death isn't always the outcome. There's all kinds of fun things you could be missing out on, like
myocarditis.
Yeah. You know.
Oh, just
blood clots. Yep. Where's my tinfoil hat?
Wait a second. Look at this. Where are we? The potential downsides of an extra boost have so far been described in rather vague, confusing terms. Yeah, like all those big medical terminology.
Well, you mean the ones that they're only vague and confusing because
they're
varied.
A New York Times article published Tuesday, Should You Get Another Booster?, warned that repeated boosting offers diminishing results. Again, sounds better than nothing. This has to be like a satirical article. I can't.
No, that sounds like the book review. This has to be satire. No, The Atlantic is not satire. You would know about The Atlantic, by the way. You want some fun information. Another little book club item from the Sass man himself is you need to check out the Breitbart's book on Audible or in Hoopla or whatever. I'm a big fan of Hoopla. Hoopla is a free way for you to get your tax dollars back out of your library system by getting digital audiobooks, digital books, all that stuff. So check out Hoopla, Hoopla. But Breitbart's book that I just listened to basically talks about how the Atlantic was formed, about the founders of the Atlantic, the founders of, and there's another one too. The Huffington Post. I think it's the same ownership between the Atlantic and the HuffPo. And what was the name of his book? Righteous Indignation. Just finished that on vacation. Awesome book. Anybody? It is required listening for this lady right down here below me. But you should listen to this book and go, oh my God, I identify with this guy. There's like 5 or 6 different times I'm doing this. I'm going, man, Jen needs to listen to Righteous Indignation. But the ownership of the Atlantic and the Huffington Post, I forget what the crossover is there, but it's interesting. These guys truly believe what they push and sell. They're 100%. It's not satire. And the beautiful thing about Huffington Post, from what I understand from this book, is that Andrew Breitbart helped create that, and because he wanted people who had these opinions to out themselves. He wanted them to sign their names to their opinions, because for decades upon decades, we had people who basically would say stuff like this, believe stuff like this, but would be behind the scenes and would be in the shadows. It's like, well, shit, if they would just, if we had transparency, if we knew who these people were. So, like, on the very first day that the Huffington Post existed, they had an article that came out, and he's like, this is exactly why it was created. We actually see who in the media has certain opinions, and they basically outed themselves.
So are you saying that the contributors of The Atlantic don't necessarily reflect the opinions and thoughts of the creators of The Atlantic?
I think that The Atlantic is generally pretty liberal, right?
Can you use another term to describe them?
It is more. It's not liberal. It being the opposite of conservative.
Can you use another term to describe that?
Use the kid gloves.
You're using political terms that I don't understand.
This is the best thing. You are the most conservative, free-thinking person that I've.
You're still using the same term.
I know. And you don't know it. You know what I mean? These are terms I would use to describe you. You have a very, conservative mindset. So a conservative, I'm trying to think of another term. A conservative is somebody who thinks that the values that we had, and you're trying to conserve them. Now, conservative and liberal, here's the fun part. I didn't know.
Hold on. Before we go too far on this, sure. I just want to finish this article.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. I was like one sentence away, and this was the point that I asked this question about the Atlantic and the representation because of this specific part. So, the article also said that getting too many original vaccine doses could make your body less responsive to an improved formula, and that it might be worse for your longer-term immunity than waiting. Celine Gounder, a former member of President Joe Biden's COVID transition team, pointed out on Twitter yesterday that repeated boosting could pose certain psychological risks, on top of the thousands of other adverse events, including vaccine fatigue and skepticism. Why? Because they keep getting the vaccine and they continue to get COVID? I would be skeptical too. but these are more relevant to public health officials than individual Americans seeking shots. So that's why when you were describing that to me and you were saying, okay, what I gathered from your explanation about why it was created by the founders is that these people were
Huffington Post.
Oh, not the Atlantic.
Right. I thought that someone in the Atlantic was a co-owner in the Huffington Post.
Okay.
From what I remember. I'm looking it up right now to see if I'm correct.
Okay. So, but publications like Huffington Post might not necessarily agree with their contributors, but they're outing them by saying, oh, you want to share your opinions and thoughts and ideas? Here, put them on our platform. And then they're putting them out there and sharing them and saying, look at how crazy this person is. I can't believe they think this way, even though they're sharing them on their platform. Am I following?
I think it's a little what he did with Huffington Post was a little more subversive in the fact that he was friends with the founder but didn't agree with her political views, and helped her set up a site and suggested that they make sure that they make it available for people to basically write articles and then say, hey, I'm the author of the article, and it's like kind of a pat on their own back. But in essence, what they were ending up doing was basically making it available for people to find out what their views were without them, undermining and keeping them secret. Like, oh, it would be amazing, this new blog technology, you should check it out. It was that type of thing. And it's just an amazing story to hear. But yeah, full disclosure, I think the Atlantic, and maybe I'm wrong, but full disclosure, I'm not sure. I don't know if it falls on that spectrum. So, in the spectrum of political thought for you, Jen, and maybe for other people that this is all new. There is liberal and conservative, or what you might consider to be. It's interesting to me. Ben did a thing on this on Rebuild. He likes to use the term liberty as a North Star. If what you want is more liberty or you want more state control, there's a lot of people who literally say that they want the state to have more control over their lives. They want more government programs. They want more government intervention. They think the government should step up. That is a very non-conservative viewpoint. But the interesting thing that I learned last year is that the terms liberal and conservative in the political, using this as a political spectrum. So, for instance, I'm a guy who is a fan of coffees and beers. I like brewed drinks. And you use certain words to describe your palate on these things. Like coffees vary greatly from hops and barley for flavor palette. And everything is kind of a spectrum between which side you lean towards. Is it more of a hoppy blend? Is it more of a barley blend? Do you have more chocolatey coffee stuff? So when they think about politics, you have conservative and liberal in general here. And but I learned that those terms also can be flipped. And what I mean by that is that the term conservative, the root word is to conserve. Okay, you don't want to change the status of what you believe, like our constitutional rights that we are handed. You want those to stay. You don't think that it needs a lot of improvement. It was good as written. So you are conservative. You keep trying to push back towards smaller, less intervention of government, less government. If you are progressive, progressive means that you want change. Those are the liberals, the progressives. Now, here's an interesting thing. If you are in a government that is extremely state-centric, okay, and you want change, you want to have smaller government or less government involvement, and you want more liberty and more freedom, then you, in that world, are progressive. That is, you want to progress out of that situation towards something that has more freedom and more liberty. Okay? So, the funny part is because we're moving towards more of a state-controlled world, more of a one-world government, all these things that we don't want, we are the conservatives. We want to go back to away from that type of tyranny. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So like I said, the terms conservative versus I think progressive is probably a better antonym to conservative. Is about changing from one state. The point is where are you on the terms of liberty? Are you progressing towards it or away from it? Our country is progressing away from it. We've gone past it. I think this is a better direction on the screen. We started very conservative over here, and we're moving more. So I got a question here. So Christian, we should have an additional party. Actually, it's interesting you say that. I got active in politics back in 2012, about the time that I learned about the Libertarian Party. The Libertarian Party is a fledgling party. I don't think our Constitution really has any statement or has anything in it that requires a party-based system at all. It just happens to be that we have two parties. We have Democrats and Republicans. The Republicans tend to, or supposedly, are traditionally thought of as being the conservatives. You hear about this when you talk with Jeremy about the conservatives in Parliament there. The Democrats tend to be much more liberal. Back when we were, when we had before we had women's voting rights. Let's rewind the clock. That concept is a very progressive concept from where they were, but what that progression actually gave women more liberty and freedom. You see? So, I mean, I think the biggest point that we need to understand is, are we moving towards or away from freedom? Towards or away from liberty? And the more that you want state-sponsored government solutions, the more that you want the government to tell you what to do, you are moving away from liberty. So you have to keep that in mind. That's our big thing. Maybe we should do an episode where we actually do some of that education here, non-Ben style, more you and me in kid gloves and charts and graphics and fun stuff. Would you be down for that at some point?
I would love to. Sherry just said, I think we have to shit can the whole mess and start over. I agree with that completely.
If you did, you would find, I think, people separating into two schools of thought.
Oh, more than two. Easily.
But
I think...
Okay, go ahead.
I just think that the country, as it stands right now, if something were to happen today, tonight, tomorrow, everyone is so divided that I think that you would just find tiny little factions. Like, the Hunger Games. Like how you have different territories, like 9, 10, 12, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't think that you would have two groups. I think that you would have people that say, I agree with this, but I don't agree with that. I'm going to start my own party. And you would just have all of these delineations.
I'm saying it wouldn't take long. I agree that that's how it starts, but they would coagulate into two major powers. You have people who, and really, at the end of the day, it comes down to morality. There are people who don't have the same morals, and there are people who set themselves. I'm going to say it. This is what makes me an unpopular person, but you're going to basically have people who have Christian principles and morals and everybody else.
Right, but within those everybody else, you have people that have Hindu morals and beliefs. You have people that have Buddhist morals and beliefs. You know what I mean? So it's not just one versus the other. You're going to have so many different factions. Look at like the policies that we're talking about.
But then we start asking the question, like, what is morality? Where does that come from? Where does morality come from? What are morals?
You're going too far off base right now. We could have that discussion too. But if we stay focused on this topic, I mean, look at the policies that are being discussed right now. So like clean energy. You could have people divided in 15 different directions just on clean energy, because somebody could be pro, water energy, but against wind energy, or pro, you know what I mean?
Versus the concept.
What?
That would be arguments about the actual individual solutions. I don't think anybody thinks clean energy is a bad idea. I don't think anybody...
If you learn about clean energy, you would think it's a bad idea.
No. I think what I'm saying is, because where people differ are on the solutions for clean energy. Clean energy isn't, in general, nothing, not a single conservative or liberal. It's kind of like, how do I put this? Clean air and water is something we all can agree on, right?
Yep, but that's not energy.
But I'm making an analogy.
Okay.
Everybody wants clean air and water.
Well,
It's funny you bring that up.
Everyone wants to consume clean air and water. Not everyone wants the availability of clean air and water because there is too much money to be made making air clean and water clean.
Yeah, okay, we can go way into the details.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying that I think that we are too far past, honestly, even having a countrywide political system. I think it has to be small town city factions. You agree with the people that surround you, your neighborhood, or you don't, and you move and you find somebody else that you agree with. But look at gun control laws that vary by state. Look at all abortion laws that vary by state, and then within those states themselves, you even have territories that disagree with the state law.
They're trying to either legislate or not legislate morality. That's what all this comes down to. And if you don't have morals, you have no common goal or framework of mind to actually have a discussion upon. There are people out there that just don't have the same principles, that don't have the same morality. It's not something they see as evil. The people that we disagree with don't see what Disney executives behind the scenes are doing are bad. That's just how they love people. They just like younger people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna jump on a moral soapbox and say if you don't believe like me, then you must not be a moral person. That's not. I don't think.
Well, and that's why that's probably more for my channel. But the big question is, like, where does that morality come from? I know you say that other religions have morality. I'm not saying that they don't, but I think there's even people that are atheists that like to say that religion is just a construct to bring morality to the table and where it wouldn't be otherwise. And, so big conversation, maybe one that we can plan to have. I don't want to derail you completely. I know you have other stories you want to cover.
That was actually it. So the only thing that I had on the docket here tonight was that video. I didn't know I put it in because I planned on you being here and loading it, so we can save it for another night.
Okay. Well, I mean, it is news that's now. I don't think it's anything that's going to be hot later. I mean, you're just talking about the confirmation video.
Yeah, Ketanji Brown Jackson was confirmed to the Supreme Court. We talked a little bit about her earlier.
Yeah, big applause on one side of the aisle.
Well, the reason why is because Mitt Romney was one of only 3 people on his side to vote her in.
50 split,
which was actually historic. So I had actually, do I have it here? Yep. Mitt Romney made history.
I'll pull the video for you.
In 2020 by becoming the first senator to vote to convict a president of his own party at an impeachment trial, and Romney is now making some history again. This was a snippet from the Washington Post article. The Republican from Utah announced Monday that he would support Ketanji Brown Jackson's confirmation to the Supreme Court. It's significant for 2 reasons. One, because Romney had voted against Jackson for a seat on an appeals court last year, and because it means Jackson will get at least as many crossover votes from Republicans, 3, as she did in her previous confirmation. Now, the reason why I watched, Christian sent me this video earlier. I watched it. I thought, whatever. But it struck a chord with me because the reason why this top reason is so significant, Romney voting against Jackson for a seat on an appeals court last year. The appeals court is lower than the Supreme Court. Okay? So she was up for a nomination for the appeals court, and Mitt Romney voted against her, citing she wasn't ready. She didn't have, what it takes to be on the appeals court, whatever the reason is. He thought that she wasn't fit for the job. Now, all of a sudden, a year later, he's saying not only would she possibly be fit for the appeals court, but she's even better. She has improved significantly in the last year. You know what changed his mind? Was listening to the hearings and listening to her answer the questions about her being lenient against child predators. How disgusting is that? You find out that she's lenient to child predators, and then you vote her into the Supreme Court after you denied her a seat on the appeals court, a rank down. What does that say about you? Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, Jen, you are going to be, whether you want to be or not. I think I'm predicting this is because you just don't see it. It's kind of like watching a child ride a bike towards a tree, and you're like, he's going to hit the tree, and he just doesn't know how to steer.
You're telling me I'm going face first for a tree?
You're going face first into becoming a political analyst, and you don't realize it. Don't even know
I just made you describe liberal and conservative, and I still don't understand what it is.
That's why I find it so fascinating. You are a pure soul.
I am what?
You are a pure soul.
Oh, yeah.
You're coming at this with no conjecture. This is just you, and you're like, I need to have there needs to be like a term for this. I'm like, there is. Let me show you this new product.
See, but here's the thing. Like, these terms that I hear, I just feel like they are so old. And that they...
an analogy for you real quick, and maybe I can help you with that. I had the same experience when I started really trying to validate a lot of my scriptural research. Okay, I went, people who want to do the kinds of stuff that I want to do go to seminary, and they learn an entire vocabulary that I don't know personally, never have. Now, the religious background that I have has no specific, they didn't have a seminary path. They didn't have a way for you didn't have to become a PhD in theology under a certain school in order to be a pastor. It was much more of a looser organization. And basically, I didn't have the same exposure and training. And the truth is none of the places that would train you to do this stuff would want someone like me, because I didn't share certain portions of their theological beliefs in my upbringing and in my own research. So therefore, I didn't fit their schools. Now, the internet comes along 20 years later, right? And I'm learning all these terms, and I feel the exact same way. I'm using this as another analogy where I'm like, man, these words are they're archaic. There's these big, ugly, like, what do you mean? What does Protestant mean, right? Just that. Let's just start with that's a really easy starting one. Do you know what Protestant means? Nope, I'm assuming no. Okay, so
I know it's like a religious term.
It is, but why is it called Protestant, like that word? Well, the root of that is to protest. And it was Martin Luther who protested what the Catholic Church was doing in controlling people's lives. He had his 98 theses that he nailed to the door of the Catholic Church and said, these are let me use big kid language. Can I use bad words? These are the places you're screwing up. I used nicer words. And said that and I don't agree that this is a biblical stance. He put his complaint, and that was to protest. So those who had most of Christianity in the United States is Protestant Christianity. You would have said that to me when I was back in my teenage 20s or whatever. I would have had no clue what that word meant. So I can understand when you say, like, there's a whole language, like these words should, but I think a better approach is to educate yourself and understand the language used to describe these things. It's just kind of like if I were to walk into a laboratory where they did like chemical research, I'd have no clue about the language. So I'd be at a complete handicap.
I agree 1000% that the answer is education, without a doubt. However, here is the reason why I don't do it is because the word Democrat, the word Republican, even the word Protestant, now in 2022 does not share the same definition that it did in 1990, in 2000, in 1980.
You're absolutely correct about your political definitions, because the Republican Party has slid backwards from conservative. It actually, people like Bobby Piton running here in Illinois calls them the uniparty, like the unibrow. What's a single party system, even though they claim to be part of this two different sides. They really both believe the same crap, and they make it look like there's arguments. It's just all theater. They really agree at the end of the day on how they want to drive things, but they want to, but I think it's really important for people to understand these terms, and I have no problem. Quite honestly, I can't spend all my day just teaching about biblical stuff, which is what I would like to do. If you would like me to teach outside and into standard terminology of politics and stuff like that, I'll come on and gladly bring my teacher's acumen to your channel, and that might just be my role. I don't know. We're all still kind of figuring out what our roles are in this process. So
Yeah, I think it would be great to have, we don't need to redefine any terms or create any new terms, but to
no,
just have
need to learn
a general understanding of what it is. That's what I need, a general understanding of what it is that people are, what they mean, what they think they're saying. That's what it is. Because when you say the word Democrat now,
it doesn't mean what it used to mean.
no. And the same with liberal or conservative or Republican or even the word democracy. Like,
Well, but certain things still mean the same thing. Protestant, like I knew you threw that in the mix.
yeah,
Those church terms are pretty solidified. Politically, this is what I said I learned last year, that being conservative depends on from what mindset you're coming from. I want to conserve the idea. If you live, let me put it this way. If you lived in a socialist regime, you lived in China, okay, or you lived in some place that has the opposite amount of freedom as we have. Let's just say China, okay, and you liked the socialism that you got there, and you were fighting to make sure that it stayed the way that it has always been, the way that you were raised, the way that your parents were raised. We don't have internet or books, or we just take our marching order. That's the way it should be. Well, then you are a conservative if you're trying to conserve that political idea. So the word conservative can be used there one way, and it can be used here another way. What are you trying to conserve? You need to understand the language.
right. That's why, like, right now, the way that the world is, with transgenderism running rampant in our schools and CRT and all of that, like, if somebody called me a conservative, I'd be like, what's wrong with you? I don't want to conserve any of these ideas. Well, I don't want to continue on this path.
Right. Well, but what you don't understand is when you got introduced to politics, the concept of politics, the things that I'm fighting to conserve, you weren't aware of at the time. So for you, it's almost a progressive idea to move towards liberty from where we currently are.
Right.
I'm trying to go back to the liberty that I experienced when I was in high school in the 90s.
Yes, Daphne just said, I want the old ways back.
That's a conservative.
And so but it's not conservative, is my point, because that would be progressive, like you said. It's changing. It's changing the direction that we're going.
I think I need to recognize that the new progressive is somebody who wants liberty and freedom.
Right. Because, so I think of it like this. I think of it as like different trains at the station, right? So you can hop on the Democrat train, you can hop on the Republican train, the progressive train, the conservative train, the liberal train, whatever. What's that?
Those are just parties. They don't even define the direction of moving.
But they do. You have an idea based on the candidate. You know what stance they have. You know what way they're going to lean toward. Because here's the thing: if you're sticking with this idea of general parties and not these smaller factions, where you could have a town or a city or even a state that says, okay, if you believe in pro-life and you believe that sex has no place in our schools, then come live in Massachusetts. But if you believe in no people owning guns and you are pro-choice, and come live in Connecticut. You know what I mean? Like, if you had a lot more options, obviously people would be able to.
And we do, actually. That's actually a 10th Amendment issue that you're bringing up, called states' rights.
But you still have this overbearing country wide.
That's why there was a bunch of writings called the Federalist Papers. A federal government, just like a federation and telegram, which people don't even know about, something that is federal is a federation or a collection of states, or a collection, in telegram terms, of chat groups. So federal government is government above the states.
Right.
There really is two different levels of government that people need to understand. That people like Thomas Jefferson were not fans of federal government. They didn't want an overbearing state. They didn't want a king. They wanted, hey, look, you want to screw up your state, go for it. We'll just make sure that Kentucky over here does the way we want. And if you don't like it, you vote with your dollar, you vote with your feet. If you can't change things at a local level, where are people going? Florida, Texas, Tennessee?
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be.
And that was, so Dwayne said you could jump on a train, then the next minute you're on the wrong train going the wrong way. That was exactly my point, Dwayne, because you have these definitions of these terms that are age old that people believe they still mean the same thing. So when you say the term conservative, they're like, oh yeah, I'm a conservative, I identify as that, I'm getting on that train, and all of a sudden it's like the train station you're at is pushing LGBTQ and CRT, and you're on the conservative train to conserve those thoughts. You're like, wait a minute, this isn't what I signed up for.
All these things that we're dealing with, whether you're talking about religion, whether you're talking about politics, or anything else you're not supposed to talk about at the Thanksgiving dinner table, you need to know. You need the thing that I was raised with. Thank you, Mom. She might be watching. She did call and like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm getting ready to jump on with Jen. She's like, oh, so so I don't know if she's watching it, but what I was raised with is you in our ministry, in our upbringing, is you must understand the words that you use. That you have to be specific about the words that you use. If you don't understand the words that you use, they can be used against you. They can be used to trick you. They can be. If you don't understand that the train to Cleveland sign, and you think you're going to Peoria, Illinois, whose fault is it? Is it the person who made the sign or the person who can't read it? So understanding language is essential, and understanding language is essential to understanding the meaning of what someone writes to you. If I write you a letter and you don't know the words, if I read it to you in a language that you don't understand, and you have to go through the effort of translation, now you're at the mercy of the translators. These are the problems with scriptural translation. A lot of people had agendas when they were translating scriptures.
Well, that's the thing that I wanted to just point out too. Like, there is absolutely a place for personal accountability. It is on all of us to educate ourselves, to empower ourselves with truth and knowledge, to do the research, and to find the answers for ourselves. However, it becomes almost impossible when you have people with those nefarious agendas that are manipulating things. They're changing definition, literally changing dictionary definitions for words that are hundreds of years old.
I insist that you use the words I want you to use. That's where where Jordan Peterson became the enemy of the state.
It's crazy.
To use language in a way that he didn't want to use it, or that didn't represent reality.
I don't know. I would be hard pressed to say that I identify in any one specific category, political category, because I don't like being pigeonholed. I don't like, I had the same issue when I was in AA, and I had to say, introduce myself and say, my name's Jen, and I'm an alcoholic.
When someone told me I had ADD.
I know, we've had this conversation before. Like, I don't like to be labeled. So for somebody to look at me and say, "Oh, well, you are a Democrat, you're a Republican, you vote for this party," yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not going to agree with everything.
I can be whatever I want, but at some point, you are definitely easy to. People can look at you and go, you know what? I know what she, even if she can't articulate it, I know what she means. Or if she can you know what I mean? It really is one of these things that, at the end of the day, there's going to be someone, whether it's me who writes about myself or somebody else who writes about me, you'll be able to define what I thought and believed. You know what I mean? Even if I can't define it, it's definable.
Well, your ideas and your beliefs are absolutely, but I just don't think it's fair to any one person to pigeon them all into one category and say, because he believed these things, he was a blank. I would just say, he believed these things, period. Why does there need to be a label on it?
Oh, okay, I want to read Carrie's. Do I read this live online here? I haven't read all the way through it. It's a big comment, Carrie.
Well, then that is not integrity. You need to read first. Right. While you're reading, okay. Tabby just said that this isn't about politics, and I agree completely, Tabby. I disagree.
I think it's all politics. I think politics is just a word that describes the idea. You have to define the word politics. What we're doing is talking about politics, whether you realize it or want it to be or not. What we're doing is politics.
See, I think it's so much bigger than that, because we're talking about like defining words and morals, and I don't think that in religion, and I don't labeling people, right? So I don't think it is about politics. I think it's on a more grander scale of how we want to be seen as humans and perceived as humans, how we want to express our thoughts and our beliefs and our opinions? How do we want people to make decisions for us? Because basically that's what politicians do. They make decisions for us, right? Why aren't we capable of making our own decisions? There's such a wider, broader thing than politics. Politics plays a large part in our world, absolutely, but I just think it's bigger than that. But that's my personal opinion. Right. Obviously, Tabby agrees.
I was going to say the same thing. It's not that I'm not opinionated.
No, you are. So Deb just said she posted a number of articles on Telegram, PNN. Our government is so corrupt and has been, and so sorry for the loss of the old ways. We are in a state of grief. Thank you so much for sharing those articles. However, I am blocked from everything PNN, Facebook, Telegram, you name it. I have absolutely no access. I don't foresee that changing anytime soon, Deb. So if you wanted to share those articles to me or to anybody else in our little group here, please go over on Telegram to check the motives. Same thing as in the top corner here, check the motives. On Telegram, I know I always have to redo it. I look at my finger like this. How do I make this work? Check the motives on Telegram. And I'll see them all there. There's a whole bunch of us that have all joined there and in there. Feel free to continue sharing to PNN. I will tell you that no one is monitoring that group. The founder has basically stopped doing anything.
Back, who knows?
Yeah. But I am no longer there, so if they were meant for me or anybody in this group, please put them over on Check the Motives. So I know you wanted to bring up Carrie's point.
That's a big article here, yeah.
She said, here is a thought. The Liberals and the new Democratic Party are in power right now. She's in Canada. But the Conservative Party has a leader that has connection with the WEF. They took his profile down. We flip-flop constantly in Canada, and it is okay to change parties. It is not as big of a deal in Canada. Right now, we have to look for a new party, and there are more than one to choose from. You would like this more, Jen. Listen, based on the last 2 months, I already love Canada way more than I like the United States.
Although it's chaotic watching Parliament there.
Yeah.
It is. Oh, my God. I don't know. I think it would be much more interesting, quite honestly, is to outlaw all parties. You just represent you represent your own thoughts, and you are a representative of the people. I think the parties are just a way of hemming people in.
So my friend Jen, who I know in real life, I'm so glad to see her on here watching. Thank you so much for sending a comment. She said, you are never going to agree with everything that someone in politics believes. We are always making choices, and many of those choices are not ideal. See, but I agree with you 1,000%, but there's a difference between making choices and making sacrifices. And I feel that if we had more parties, there would be less sacrifices, because you could be able to find the people relate.
Thought, ironically,
what's that?
You're wanting kind of a diversity of thought, right?
Well, absolutely.
I mean, down too low. Is that better? Oh, that's much better.
That's better. Yeah. So
Sorry.
if you look at just look at like one hot button issue, right? Like abortion. Okay. So you have these people that are pro-life, that believe that every child should be brought to term. See, we're not going to get into it because I will get upset. This could be another topic for a very long discussion, but you have these people that are pro-life, right, and then you have these people that are pro-choice, right? But then from those two,
at the end of the day,
delineations, it's not though. And here's that that bothers me when people say that to no end, because there are situations. At the end of
the argument, right?
Yes, I will. Okay. All right. But there are. But to say, and I don't mean this to be offensive, but to say that the difference is morality is like punching somebody in the gut who has been in a situation where they were forced to get one, and saying that they're less of a person than you are. No, does that make sense?
That's where the idea of individual circumstances comes in.
Yes, and that's my whole point, is that you have these two pro-life, pro-choice, right? But then all of a sudden you have all these different little delineations of, but unless it's, less than 6 weeks or more than 6 weeks, or if it's rape, or if it's you're a minor, or if it's an ectopic pregnancy, or if you know what I mean.
And most anti, like I said, I know you don't want to get into it now, but most of those who are anti the idea of using it as a form of just straight up birth control, as a form of recreational, hey, I didn't mean to do this, oops.
Right. But then you have the people that are so staunch, like, no exception, absolutely, it doesn't matter. If it happens to you, then so what? So be it. You live with it. If it's going to kill you, so what? So be with it. You live with it. You know what I mean? Like, they don't put any caps on it. There's no caveats. They just say this is the way it's going to be. Then what do you do if you don't fall between this succinctly pro-choice, succinctly pro-life, and you're somewhere in the middle?
Sure.
Where do you identify? So I feel like.
I completely agree. I think that, and I didn't even know that was a position that he had.
Trump had it right. Only available for rape victims, mother's life was at risk, and underaged.
There are other caveats. There are other variations. But the truth of the matter is I believe that the majority of people who are arguing for it, you know what? Here's where everybody gets in trouble. Let's paint with a great big fat brush. I don't want to do that. I don't want to whitewash anything. I don't want to color. I don't want to wash it. I don't want anyone to think that I said the word whitewash and meant Caucasian. I don't want to. No one wants to offend anyone, unless, well, maybe I do. Do I want to offend anyone?
Some people absolutely want to offend other people.
Okay. It depends on the day.
Yes, they do. In fact, they go out of their way to offend some people.
Am I supposed to? Yeah, I am supposed to offend people today. So yeah, it depends on which hat I put on. So, let me see if there's any other comments here.
Well, Jen just said abortion law is not anything that would change on the federal level. Often the state makes laws. They do, and our states right now are changing. You have some states that are banning it completely outright. You have other states that are saying there are absolutely no exceptions to abortion, and you can do it right up to term, even after the baby is born. There are some states that are so divided and so very, very different. However, we are facing the possible overturn of Roe v. Wade. Isn't that still on the table? So that would be federal.
Yeah. Man, I'm just realizing how deep the water is here.
It's so deep. I mean, you can really just bring up one topic and go look at the history of it, look at what happened. I mean, the amount of things that have changed in just a short amount of time. Daphne said, I meant that as a joke, but it's real. It's true. I mean, it's funny too, because I have this fear, this serious fear of doing this show with you guys and talking, and it's recorded and it lives on the internet forever. And, if anybody had any sort of malice intent, could go through these shows and pinpoint a certain,
you could use your words against you at any given moment.
Exactly.
Now on the chopping block.
Exactly.
You want to know why I want to stay in the background and just teach the Bible stuff, is because someone's going to come in here and go, you know what? You can't trust a thing that Christian says, because look what he said about horse rights.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But no, they could take one line.
Horseback riding.
One collection of words. I mean, it could be something as simple as, like, I'm going to scratch my nose, and they're like, oh, she's picking her nose. Look at this GIF. You know what I mean? Like, there are so many different options, so many different things that could happen.
Like 8 platforms.
Carrie said it'll happen. It will happen. I am strong in my convictions. I know what I believe. I know what I stand for. It's taken me a long time to get here, I gotta tell you. But it is
the godly timing of how it all came to be is
amazing.
Hilarious.
So it's amazing how my path has unfolded and what has gotten me here now.
Yeah, you were never ready until you were ready.
Yeah.
I think that in itself is an amazing testimony.
It really is. If I ever told somebody my whole story from 12 on.
That'll be special episodes. Maybe we'll save that for like the Skype call.
My biography. you would just be amazed. I mean, I've shared bits and pieces with like Christian and with Sam, and said, well, this happened and this led me down the road to this, and then that happened and this led me down the road to this. It's like, wow. Like, and Jeremy says the universe is on his side. You have no idea. You have no idea how accurate that statement is. People have asked me to write a book, multiple people actually, which is so weird to me. I've thought about it, but it would be really difficult for me to. I'm a more off the cuff person, where I would.
I'm going to tell you something right now, Jen. As much as I would second you writing a book, you are in the process of blossoming and blooming right now. I would wait for those petals to unfold a little more.
Yeah.
And then describe it, because right now I think you're just finding out who you are in this situation.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it has been an ongoing process now.
My mom. My mom did show up.
I know. Carol says, "Don't share anything that can be used against you."
My mom is scared shitless of me saying the wrong thing.
But it's here's the thing though. You can say the right thing and people will still take it the wrong way.
Yeah.
So it's really, I'm not going to live my life in
just the fact that I said you're my mom. Don't answer the door. You don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to live my life in fear because I'm afraid of someone else judging me based on my thoughts, my opinions, and my beliefs. That's why I have always shared my journey, my story. Ryan, I did hear that.
Free speech while we have it.
Yeah. Ryan, I did hear that story, but I don't have any details on it. It was something I heard just in quick passing on a podcast. So if you could send me some details on that, I'd appreciate it. Tabby said, "Jen, what does the word police mean to you?" It means someone wearing a badge with authority to protect and serve.
I think she meant to say policies.
Oh, policies.
When I see the word police back to back, I couldn't separate them.
Oh, see, so here's the thing, like, and I worked at a police station. I worked side by side with police officers and the chief of police, and I developed a very strong relationship with them. So I know that some people have certain specific feelings and thoughts towards our police, but I do not share those. However, she meant the word policy.
Shares the same Latin root word, which is why we homeschool and teach Latin.
That's awesome.
To our kids.
What does the word policy mean to me? Well, I have set up I've run multiple businesses. That's a whole part of my story, right? I have set up many protocols and procedures, and I would feel that the term policy would fall right in that same category of protocols and procedures, a suggested set of rules and guidelines for someone to follow. I don't know if that definition is correct.
It's not Latin. So the history and etymology for the word policy. It's the Middle English policy, or P-O-L-L-E-C-Y-E, the art or practice of government. Whoa, it's politics. System of government, commonwealth, organization or conduct of affairs, practical skill.
Policies and procedures.
Yeah. Borrowed from the Anglo-French.
That's what I just said.
Police, or system of government. It's Middle French also, a political organization. So a system of government is where the idea of policy, or the word policy, comes from. It's where we get that word. We're a melting pot. What can we say? But, all these languages, all the French, English, Spanish, and Romance languages are based off of the original Latin. If you want to dig under the etymology of that, sorry, we can dive into that too. Mom didn't raise me this smart. Did you, Mom?
It's the squirrel brain that you have. You're like, oh, we got to talk about this now. No, it is squirrel. Jen said, whether we agree with you on any one topic, there is a growing movement towards authenticity over apparent perfection. I hope. Look at these filters that people use on TikTok. It's just, it bothers me to no end that my child is growing up. And did you know that there are people that are actually going to get plastic surgery to look more like their filter, or look more like the kids these days are just terrifying.
I do that to hide my thinning hair. That's about it. The fact that
Crazy.
you said I had decent hair a couple days ago is a big plus in my book. That was.
Oh, you're welcome.
I didn't know if you were being sarcastic or not.
No, I would not. Why? I would never use sarcasm in a compliment. That's just mean.
As a flavoring all the time.
I mean, I am fluent in sarcasm, but I would never do it when I'm like, "Oh, nice hair." No, I would say, "Your hair looks crappy." You better do something about that.
Turkey. You need to. Can you let me roll for just a quick second?
Yeah.
Or are you trying to rap?
I think I was going to do that, but if you wanted to hang out for a few more minutes, we can do that too. It's up to you.
All right, I'll be fast.
Okay. So Ryan said I use filters that make me look worse. There's an option for you. But Patricia, there is Durham news. We actually talked about it at the beginning of the show, so just catch the replay. It was the very first segment that I did. There was a text message that came out during the discovery process from Sussman to the somebody at the FBI that confirms that he lied. So I went through a couple of articles on that. Daphne said, ask Elon to buy into Facebook. We could have more freedom of speech. I actually said, I'm going to knock on wood again. I said this to Christian last night, as I was knocking on wood again last night, that I am shocked that we are able to talk about the things that we talk about on here without any repercussions as of yet. Fingers crossed, knocking on wood. Everybody knock on wood wherever you are. But I remember when I was over on PNN, like, we would have videos taken down left and right when we said the C word, when we said the V word, especially coupled with, like, adverse reactions. I'm sure any of you guys that were watching on PNN remember that we'd be in the middle of a show and all of a sudden Facebook would kick us off and we'd have to go tell everybody to come back onto Twitch or YouTube. I don't know if it's me, if I'm somehow slipping under the radar because I'm smaller, or if it's just because Facebook is becoming more lenient as of late. I really don't know what the answer to that is. I don't know. But it's pretty... I have definitely noticed it. Let's say that. I'm somebody that has been in Facebook jail multiple times for the dumbest reasons. But it just seems for whatever reason lately that they have been a little bit more lenient. Yes, Ryan, Ryan said when your numbers bump up in the thousands, they start taking a closer look. I agree, but my personal page is already in the thousands between all the friends and followers and everything. So that's maybe why I'm in jail more often on that personal page than I am on this page. But then again, Hotstick says Facebook is more lenient, so maybe other people too are experiencing that. I don't know. I wonder if there's a change in the winds coming, and there's lessening up the restrictions. I mean, they did come out and say that the fact checkers are opinion based, and that came out in court. That was public information. Something that kind of came out that people dismissed. We talked about it on the show, but then nothing really came about it. No one really talked about it much after that. So I don't know. I would love to get off of Facebook entirely, but there are so many people that still use it and rely on it that I need to be on it for my business. It's how I interact with people primarily.
I was saying that earlier in our chat, wasn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Our show planning chat, and the fact that Facebook has made itself unfriendly to free speech. Obviously, that's really what we're dealing with. Is the topic.
Yeah, I'm less inclined to share things.
I basically get on there and I'll do something here or there, maybe share a Bible verse. That's generally safe for now. I do
for now.
Yeah, for now. But it's like I'm completely aware that it's basically the thought police.
Yep.
And I maintain an account so that I can do all the things that I need to do with that account. And I realize this is going out there, and the thought police will analyze every word we say and decide that they want to take it down off of this. But the point is that they don't have any rules currently, or have the technology currently, to stop a live broadcast midstream. So the concepts that we're talking about right now, and this is a big point for you guys, I want everybody listening to me very closely. Let me zoom in really tight and give you a break for a second. I want you all to listen to me very closely. For right now, they cannot stop us while we're live streaming. So this is the time that you have to share this stream. Obviously, we're ending now, but when we're live is the most potent we ever are. And it gives people the opportunity to agree and or disagree with us. And that's perfectly fine as well. But while free speech exists, you better use it while you have it, or you'll be guaranteed to lose it. So I think it's when we sit in silence, when we sit in fear in our caves, that they work overtime to take away our liberties and freedoms. So when we're live, when we go live each time, you are our core team, you 25, 27, whatever people that hang out for us for every single second we talk for some crazy reason. You're the core team. You need to, when we go live each time, share the living hell out of the channel and grow that, because it's only while we're live that we get our real reach. That's when we have our opportunity to become part of the natural discourse, the natural town square that this original platform was designed and actually claimed to be, which is what attracted most of us to it in the first place, this concept of a public square. And it really isn't that. It's not that. This is the surveillance state at its at its highest point. So we need to have that opportunity to, and I don't want to use that term red pill too often, but basically this is our opportunity to wake people up and give people an opportunity to hear opposing ideas and thoughts. Or maybe, we don't want it to be an echo chamber. We want this out there where people can hear this and go, you know what? This person actually sounds the way he's talking, I agree with. I felt that way once on radio. And thankfully, before Facebook, conservative radio had a person on, I think at the time, it wasn't even Ron Paul. It was an interview for someone running for president. Oh, who was it? I can't think of his name. But I had that moment where I got exposure to somebody who had new thoughts. And I went, I agree with that guy. And we need that. They're trying to shut down our opportunities for hearing new ideas and opposing it. They want to control all the ideas everyone hears. So when we're live, you're our team. Share those links out. Now, I may not share every single thought that Jen does. I don't know what she thinks about that, but that's okay.
I welcome it. I welcome it. Because here's the thing, we're both adults, and even though I don't accept every single belief that you have, I will tolerate it because I love you and you are my friend. And I know at the end of the day, I don't believe that you have any staunch stance on any one thing that I would say, well, I really dislike you now because you don't like chocolate ice cream. Exactly. I think that Carrie just said, I'm like Jen, I like to listen first, and I totally appreciate that standpoint, and I understand. When I talk about operating with integrity, I mean, listen, I have made the mistake before of watching the first 5, 10, 15 seconds of a video and saying, oh, you know what, somebody would like this, and I send it over to them, and then 30 seconds later, they're talking about how, white supremacists and something else, and I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I don't believe this. This is not what I meant. This is not what they were talking about 30 seconds ago, But I completely understand any hesitation to share, but as far as Daphne said this, that I wanted to bring up, but before I do, to Christian's point, like, we don't do any marketing, we don't do any advertising paid or anything. This is a brand new platform. You look at like the platform that I came off of, that one was living for at least a year. So the 1.5 million viewers that we had reached by the time I left was over the course of a year, a buildup, a momentum, all the Trump rallies that are shared and everything that bring in thousands of viewers. I don't have that big of a reach yet, obviously. We're working on it. We're growing on Twitch.
Your audience will come to you.
Absolutely. We're growing on Twitch. We just hit 50 followers. I celebrated that on my Facebook today. We're growing on Telegram. We're almost at 300 members on Telegram. My website, I'm getting memberships weekly. So, I mean, the growth is there. It's obvious. I see it. My Rumble account, I think I'm up to 82 Rumbles. Some of my videos have 1,000 views. So we're definitely reaching more people. But we do rely solely on the organic growth, and that means you guys sharing and liking and telling people about it. Daphne said, most of my friends live out of state and we use Facebook to keep in touch. I listen, that's how it happens. So what I would do, because listen, I talk about taking action, right? I talk about doing what you believe in, and I talk about grassroots movement. How do we make change? We all know that Facebook is corrupt. That's not a surprise. We all know that Facebook is against free speech. Not a surprise. But we are still continuing to use it. What if we go to our friends, our family, our network, and say, hey, listen, I love you. I want to continue communicating with you. However, I think there's a better option. Are you willing to start a Telegram account? Are you willing to start a Gab account? I'll walk you through it. I'll show you how to do it. It's just like Facebook. It's super simple.
We each need to help each other with those things.
Exactly. Here are the steps to do it. Be my friend. Send me a message over there, and then you slowly migrate. That's how it's going to happen. It's one thing for us independently and individually to go over to these new platforms, and that's great. But you need to bring like 2 friends with you too. And that's how we will all shift. We're all going to shift. We're all going to change. I need to do a better job of that personally. I don't want to just preach about that. Carrie said, not with my family. Listen, it's going to be just like the people that are awake versus the people that are woke. There's always going to be different people. There's going to be people that just don't believe the things that we're saying. It's an unfortunate fact.
Excuse me.
Unfortunate reality. Bless you.
Just random sneeze. I'm actually very healthy right now.
Actually.
I have the COVID! Sorry, I just got our video flagged.
I was just saying that as you left, that I don't know, it's almost like it's been more lenient.
It's like, it depends on the war.
Yeah.
Tell me it's some computer algorithm is horse hockey. When they're active and they want to start banning, they'll ban hard. And it really depends on, I think right now you're not making enough waves for them to care. If you were actually making bigger waves, you'd be a bigger target.
Yep. Daphne said I use Facebook for birthdays too. I do that as well. So I think that there's definitely a place for Facebook. Facebook has a lot of great options to it that I love, that I utilize for my business. Just so you guys know, like to get an idea of the path that I'm on and what it is that I would like to see, my eventual goal is to have my website be a hub for everything. So I go live on my website. We have a communication portal through my website where just like a Facebook style social media platform where people can share posts and content and links and different video, research, all in one place. Right now, I am spread out on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitch, I'm on DLive, I'm on Gab, I'm on Getter, I'm on MeWe, I'm on Telegram, and I have my website and Rumble, and I'm trying to post all of the same things to all of these different places because one person is on Facebook, somebody else who's not on Facebook is on Telegram, somebody else who's not on either of those is on Gab, you know what I mean? And it's just, I'm doing 10 times the amount of work where I could just be putting all of that energy, time, and effort into one location and building up that location. We are not there yet, but that is my goal, and I would love to just use all of these other platforms as marketing to push people to the website. That is my end goal, the journey, the path that I am on. I see the destination. It's literally just a matter of me building the road to get there and figuring out how it all works. Daphne said it sounds like a lot of work. Yeah. That's what I'm coming to figure out every day. I want to make some small, simple change, and it ends up being a day's worth of work. But that's okay because, that's what I want to do. This is what I signed up for, unknowingly. This is where we are. And, this is my mission. So we shall see. But I'm looking forward to having some educational political talks with you, Christian. I'm looking forward, now that we have put that on the table, I think it would be awesome to look into that and start discussing that. Did you have any other points you wanted to bring up? You look like you're invested in something. I am in the process
of shopping for where to dump people on Twitch.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so... place. We did the raid last night. I don't know if anybody stuck around for that. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, see, here's another thing. Like, we talk about operating with integrity, right? I haven't had the chance to vet any of these people, so I don't know where we're sending them. I trust Christian, and he's the one who's choosing. So hopefully he is, aware of their practices and their beliefs and opinions. But it's whenever we do the raid, I always go and look and watch. Like, well, what do these people talk? I know the first night.
Yeah, I'm shopping right now for that kind of preview and make sure that this is audiences that would blend well. I'm basically introducing 2 rooms of people.
Yeah. I mean, strength in numbers, I agree completely with, I talk about it all the time, building a community, a network of like-minded people. I think that we're stronger and better together. I think that was the
I found one, but
Obama.
They've got subscriber-only chat on, which is really kind of, it keeps people from like interacting on a raid.
So Jen just asked, what is a raid? So Jen, I am on Twitch. It is a streaming platform, just like YouTube. You're watching right now on Facebook, but I do have actually more people watching right now on Twitch. So if you go to Twitch.
If you would like an explanation from somebody who's an old school Twitch streamer.
Yeah, hold on just one second because I want to break it down really slowly before you get to that. If you go to twitch.tv/my name, Jen Como, I just brought it up so it started playing. But if you go to my Twitch link, then this video will pop up and you can watch on Twitch instead of Facebook. And now you can explain what a raid is. Christian.
Yes. So, Twitch. Sorry, I'm
I know.
working towards something here.
That's why I was going to explain it, but you jumped in.
I did. So there's 29 people. So what Twitch is originally designed for is actually the kind of world that I was a part of before I got into doing anything with politics. It's all about video games originally. It's all about streaming video games. And basically streaming in general got its start from the video gaming world as a whole, as far as I would say, like, regular citizens, consumers wanting to do video streaming really took off when this concept of people playing video games wanted to stream their games or talk about their games. I mean, when I was asked, I don't know, I have to mute their channel because it's distracting me. It's like hearing something else in my ear that isn't related to this. But I was asked by a friend of mine who does television production if I were to start a show right now, what would you want to do a show on? I'm like, well, let's do something about, I think video games on the internet is going to be absolutely huge. And he's like, all right, great, we'll do a show about that. We were going to do this big, like, competitive sports, like what's considered esports today type thing. And then he's like, someone else is doing that. What else do you want to do? And we did a comedy, kind of mystery science theater. If you know what Gizmonics is, you know what mystery science theater is. That's another whole other conversation. But mystery science theater is this where we have a bunch of people at the front of the screen. They all basically mock and make fun of what's happening on screen because it's so bad. And I'm like, we need to like use that level of sarcasm and humor with video games because we're not necessarily great gamers, but we're hilarious. And so we should like do a show like that. So we did a show called Pwnecast. And during that period of time in which we were developing that show, we did that for a year and a half, we actually made a lot of traction. And this is when like the whole concept of YouTube and all that was just starting out. And a lot of the people that we were dealing with that wanted to get into streaming off of computers were also gamers. That was just the big thing. So these platforms for streaming, Twitch was streaming long before YouTube was. And so Twitch exists as a platform for people who, in its origin story, was all gamers that were streaming. Now, today, it is become a platform for streaming in general. Now, the lion's share of the content is for gamers, but there's just there's now new categories that have come up in the past 2 or 3 years that are politics specific, that are chat. You can watch somebody paint. You can watch someone crochet. Everyone is streaming in general. And so because of that environment has a very interactive element that things like YouTube don't have. Things like Facebook kind of has, but isn't fostering in the same way. Facebook is trying to figure out how to do what Twitch does in its platform because they're very aggressive in that way. So is YouTube. But there's a lot of things that kept a lot of community building aspects to streaming. I know I'm going to get to the raid part.
I was like, you should be like a comic book creator, because everything for you has a backstory. You're like, oh, you want to know what this is? Well, let me back up 10 years.
I'm an educator. I'm trying to actually jump in here. I'm jumping in as you.
No problem. So a raid is...
So the concept in general of a raid is the way that Twitch is set up is that when a channel stops, instead of taking all of those people who are currently watching, like on Facebook and YouTube, and then just cutting them off, you have the ability to hand off all of those viewers to another channel streamer who is streaming.
Right.
Well, this is the only platform that does that. And it's an amazing way to build community. It's an amazing way to expose other people watching similar type of content to, hey, we want to introduce you to all. We're giving you our viewers while we go offline. And what that does is it fosters community. So I'm trying to get in there. I actually used my free subscription via Twitch Prime this month. I'll give it to you next month.
No problem.
If you have Amazon Prime, you get a free subscription on Twitch to hand out to whoever you like, which helps them. Right now, it's giving me access to this chat. And I'm going to go in there and ask them to turn off the subscriber-only chat so that you all can talk when they come in. So
a raid, basically, where just my video would end, and all of a sudden, right on my page, their video, whoever we decide to raid, would start right on my page, and all of a sudden you'd be seeing them, you'd have access to them and their network, so you can continue meeting more like-minded people. I wish DLive did this, and they might even do it. I don't know. I haven't looked enough in the platform, but I would raid my friend Phil, who I know is live right now, and he shares a lot of the thoughts and opinions and ideas that I do. Unfortunately, he was censored on Twitch, and that is one of the main hesitations that I have on all these platforms.
I'll give you your free sub. Not mine.
That's okay. Mine was to Phil, and I was just saying that he was censored on Twitch. He was removed completely. He lost his entire platform, all of his followers, subscribers, and videos.
Really?
Apparently, it happened to Torres. It's been happening to a bunch of people.
But they have
recently.
been a bastion of free speech for a long time because nobody
had
paid
been
attention and censoring there.
Yep. And now came out that they are owned by Amazon, and many.
Yeah, it's just that they're now starting to pay attention. I wonder where that pressure is coming from, if it's since Bezos left.
Yeah, because all of a sudden it just started, the censorship started, and it came down hard. DLive seems to be right now a pretty censor-free site. I am working on going live on Rumble. Rumble costs money to go live on it, so I just need to make sure that I can go on live on Rumble and be able to sustain that cost monthly. But I think Rumble is a great alternative. I post all of our replays on Rumble. I also post all of the videos. So if we share like a clip, a video, or anything while we're on the show, I also upload it to Rumble. But for Twitch, one of the things that I like, well, there's a couple things I do like about Twitch. I wish it wasn't so heavily censored. You don't have to create an account on Twitch. You can simply go to the Twitch link. You don't have to create an account. You can't follow or subscribe. You might not be able to comment, but you can watch. So at least that way.
Well, the best thing to do is, for Jen, by the way, Carrie's asking a question there, is actually subscribing directly to her own group, to her own stuff. Subs on these other platforms, they only share a fraction of what they get. I think the most that you get shared is 50% on Twitch. I think they give you half.
Yep, Carrie's a community member. I mean, if you guys feel like you want to subscribe to me on other platforms, I'm not going to stop you. But listen, we work hard for our money, and we earn every penny. And I would never want anybody to feel obligated to subscribe to me on multiple places. If you want extra content, if you want more more access, subscribe, like Christian said, right on my website. It's scrolling at the bottom. There's 3 different member options that you have, and that is really your best bet.
If this channel I'm watching turns off the subscriber-only chat, I'm going to send our raid that way so that people can interact and keep talking with them. If not, I'm going to send them back to Brant.
Alrighty, sounds
That
good.
you did last night.
So you're just waiting to hear from them in the comments?
Yeah, I just chatted as you.
Okay. Jen said, in person is never censored. You're absolutely right. Listen, I've talked about this so many times now. I'm like building the dream in my head. I cannot wait for the day that we can all get together and meet up someday in some magical place and all hang out or sit around a campfire and make some s'mores and just share all of our thoughts and opinions and support for each other and love. I'm looking forward to it. So we will wait for Christian to figure this thing out here on Twitch. Let's see, tomorrow night we will be live at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central. I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about just yet because I kind of went through everything that I already had. I know something's going to happen because something always happens.
From anyone?
If anybody has any questions, that's what Christian just said in his mumbled fashion. If anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in. We also have a movie night coming up on Saturday. I don't know yet what we're going to be watching. If anybody has any ideas, drop those in the comments so you guys can send them to me through my website. Send them to me on Messenger. Let me know if you guys have come across anything interesting you think we all need to be aware about. My favorite part of movie night is just when we get to do this. We get to hang out, we get to talk and chat, but it's on Zoom. You do not need to turn on your cameras. You do not need to participate, but you do have the opportunity to do that. The last time we did it, Sam and I had an amazing experience. We loved every second of it. We got to interact with people. We finally got to put faces to screen names, and we had an amazing conversation. It was about an hour and a half long. A lot of information was shared, a lot of thoughts and ideas. It was a wonderful time. Carrie's asking for Christian's contact information, and if you can find him on Telegram, right in my group, you can also find him on Telegram at Rebuild Illinois. That is his Telegram group. On Facebook, he has Rebuild Illinois. And do you have a website? He's too focused. I would suggest Telegram. I don't have any updates on Epstein right now. We are currently waiting for the next court date for Ghislaine Maxwell's final 2 charges. Should be June 28th, I believe. I don't even know what that case number is. I have been searching for it to see if we have any information on that, but how are you doing over there? Because we got some people that are impatient. Christian.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
With what you're doing?
They're finally acknowledging me.
Okay. I'm watching the numbers. I'm like, people aren't sticking around for you doing this, so you better hurry up.
I'm going to go ahead and rate it anyway.
All right.
I'll let them know after, post facto. So I'm
Daphne.
so sorry for being on the side there.
That's okay. I'm like, do. I'll just keep talking about whatever. Who knows? Daphne. Daphne, the water situation we talked about last night. I don't know.
For that too today. Nothing.
Looking for what?
The water thing.
I posted on Rumble and Telegram.
Yeah, but the full video isn't out yet, right?
It's not out yet. No.
Yeah, I was going to say I was watching as well. I'm very interested to find out what this all means.
Yeah. So, Daphne, the only information and update that we have gotten so far on the water, I talked about it last night. I posted some videos on my Rumble. I also posted all the links and videos in my Telegram. I'm going to be putting them all on my website. We are waiting. They have like 4,000 pages of documents, so we're waiting for the extended version to be posted and come out. As soon as that is, I will share it with all of you, I promise. Just sharing what little bits I've gotten so far. We are rating Real Patriot's Voice, so we are going to listen.
Go ahead and I'll send it over.
Awesome. We're going to listen to our song as we always do. And thank you, Carrie, so much for switching over to Twitch. I see you. I love every single one of you. I hope that you have a phenomenal evening and a wonderful day tomorrow. I will see you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central. I believe this guy will be joining me. Hopefully he'll be on time.
No coercion, Ben.
I'm a stickler. No, I mean, if he can't make it, he can't make it, but hopefully he will. Hopefully you will.
I'll do my best.
Awesome. You guys have an awesome night, a wonderful day. I love you. We'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.
Alive and well, I'm wide awake. Won't take your brand, I'm not your slave. You serve your God, Lord of the flies. I pity you and you mean mine. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes. Your bloody mouth unsatisfied. God sees the trap you set for me. He'll not be mocked, I will be free. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender, never surrender. Your fear will not make me behave. I won't march in your masked parade. Your hollow threats won't shut me up. I won't bow down, enough's enough. You say you'll give us what we need, as if you own the air we breathe. Stand up 100 million strong. Thought we'd lie down, well you thought wrong. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender, never surrender. I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus with me every step. Just keep going, keep on going. Walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus closer than my breath. Just keep going, keep on going. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down. We'll never give in, never give up, never back down. We'll never give in, never give up, never back down. Never surrender. I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus with me every step. Just keep going, keep on going. Walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus closer than my breath.